need to have a look at that. Thank you. The other stuff, the other work that you've done as well, I want to believe that they're all on the repository. So when I go there, I'll be able to see it. And also on your Teams, I'll be able to see that on your Teams as well, correct? Is that correct?
It's on Teams, as I was saying.
Sorry, you cut off. Is it just me?
Sorry. Yeah, so some of it is on Teams. Sorry, it's on Teams, but we need to move it onto the wiki and put it in the ADO. So that will be done by the time you
Okay.
get access. Yeah.
All right, no problem. Okay, so for today, um, what's when I was asking you about framework, I said to you when we started, we spoke about Prince2, and I said that Prince2 has stages of managing projects. And I said that also because we're working in Agile, it doesn't mean that we may not have framework. There are organizations that would insist that you need to have a framework. And I ask, what is the shortest stages, or what are the minimum stages of framework that we can have? Can anyone tell me? Apart from the people that I've taught before, what's the minimum? What are the minimum stages, or what's the minimum stages that we can have in framework?
Hi, Femi. So is that the planning, execution phases?
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Okay.
That's a framework. So what's the minimum stages that we can have?
So we have the initiation stage, then we have the planning, and then we have the execution, monitoring and control, as well as yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, those are stages, but what's the minimum that we can have in any project?
So is
3
that
or
waterfall?
5?
Pardon?
Is it the waterfall?
No, either waterfall, agile, or whatever agile, whatever
Okay.
approach. What's the minimum? What's the minimum stages we can have
Is
in
it 5?
project management?
Is it 5?
Not exactly. Not exactly. Thank you, but not exactly. What's the
3?
minimum stages we can have? Not exactly. You've tried? Okay, anyone can answer now, either old people or the new people. What's the minimum stages that we can have in project management?
So, Mr. Femi.
All right, thank you, Dale. 2, can you tell me why? Why is it that 2 is the minimum stages we can have?
I think 2 being the main objective, which is the start and an end of a project, which is very, very vital for any project, regardless of the framework we are using.
Okay, what would the second one be?
I talked about the that should be the initiation and the closing of the project.
Initiation. Okay, all right. Thank you. Guys, I want you to note this because it's possible they can ask you such a question in an interview. That's the reason I'm asking the question I'm asking. The minimum stages you can have in any project is 2. Why is it 2? If you start a project, you can start a project And if you do things that are needed to be done as a prerequisite, which perhaps in Agile, sometimes we call the discovery phase. If you do all your prerequisites and you see that the project is not worthwhile and is not worth doing, what are we going to do? We will close the project. That's the reason 2 is the minimum stages we can have in project management. You can start a project and you can close it. But if it's a project that you're not going to close, then it would require you to have more than 2 stages, especially if you're working in a Agile environment. You all know what Agile means. That's the combination of waterfall and Agile. And I can tell you that most organizations are working in Agile. They might call it hybrid, they might call it whatever name they call it, but most organizations work in Agile. Why is that? Because there are some stages of projects that still need the element of documentation. Except for an organization that has really matured in Agile, which is not many organizations. So what you will find is that there will be different names that may be given to some things that used to be done in waterfall. If we incorporate it into Agile, you know, if you go to Prince2, Prince2 has about 6 to 7 stages. How many of you have done Prince2 here? Or you've read Prince2 before? How many? Has anyone read Prince2 before?
No.
Okay. All right. These are some of the things that I would want you to go back and look into. The stages of project management in Prince2 could be about, I think it's about 6 or 7 stages. But when we want to break it down and really streamline things, we want to make it to be something that we don't have to do every documentation. We don't have to do loads of bureaucracy, because most of those steps, most of those stages are loads of bureaucracy. And that's why, Isaac, that's why you are talking of planning. That's why you are talking of initiation. That's why you are talking of some other stuff, isn't it? Huh? Can you hear me, Isaac?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. Sorry, it's just difficult trying to unlock my screen and then unmute my mic. But yeah, I can hear you.
No problem. Don't worry, no problem. So for this organization, what we want to do is to come up with relevant project phases that can suit the environment that we're in. And my recommendation would be that we have about 3 stages, maximum 4 stages. How many stages did I say? I want to be sure you guys are with me. I don't want to just be talking for the sake of talking. Maximum 4 stages. If you remember, we spoke about framework. When we spoke about framework, that took us into governance, all right? From part of the governance, we spoke about framework. In that framework, it is important for us to know what stages we go through as an organization in managing projects, because though you are working in an Agile environment as a delivery manager, because you've got to be able to understand what we call the SDLC, Software Development Life Cycle. And when people talk about SDLC, simply, this is what they are talking about. Does that make sense? It's just the way that we would maintain it, the way that we create it, will be different, because what we want to do is to do something that suits our environment. It's not just for us to do things because other people are doing it. So what I want us to create together is to create stages of project management here at Blue Sky. And then we standardize it. I know that your predecessor, they have an experience of this, and they should be able to help to support you in doing this. All right. So let's say we have discovery phase as the first stage of our project management. What do you think we need to do in discovery phase? What does it mean to you as an ADM when we talk about saying discovery phase? Does it make any sense to you at all, what I'm saying? Or am I just speaking in Greek? If it doesn't make sense, feel free to call it out and tell me, Femi, I don't understand. I'm waiting. You guys are too quiet for me. You're too quiet. When we talk about discovery phase, how many of you have worked in GDS before? When we talk of government, government ways of managing agile projects, how many of you have worked with government before? Anyone?
No.
Pardon?
I haven't. I don't know about anyone else.
Okay. All right. Okay. Government has 3 stages when they are working in agile, and they call it discovery. You have the alpha and you have the beta. Now, as an organization as well, I'm suggesting that you would have 3 or maximum 4 stages. And I don't want you to call it alpha, beta. That's what government use. We can create our own and give it a name. But it's important for us to define what needs to be done, because that is exactly what makes your organization to be unique. Am I making sense, guys?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
So I need us to have proper understanding in context of what I just said now, and I want us to be able to apply it. So if everybody agrees with what I've suggested, then we need to look into. So what do you have in discovery phase? I want you to take a guess and tell me what do we need to do in the discovery phase?
Is the discovery stage like the planning or the initiation sort of stage where you're initiating the project?
I want you to be bold to talk to me. I can't hear what you said now. Guys, be vulnerable. Feel free to make mistakes. I'm happy for you to make mistakes. I would rather you make mistakes and you get it right than for us to be quiet. Being quiet is not going to help us.
So say discovery stage could be the initiation and planning stage of a project.
Could be what? Initiation and planning stage.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do we have to do in initiation then? If you say initiation and planning, what do we mean by that? What do we mean by initiation? And what do we mean by planning? And what do we have in mind? What do you have in mind that we would achieve?
So initiation and planning, I'm thinking what's required to put the project into action? What will be the milestones? How would you measure success? What are the risks? That's what I'm thinking.
I don't know why I'm struggling to hear you properly. Can you please speak louder, please?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, you can.
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. It's just the volume. You sounded far.
Okay. I'll try again. So I was saying the initiation is like what's required to put the project into action. And then like the planning side will be who will be involved, what are the milestones, how will success be measured, what are the risks? Did you get that? Okay.
You said initiation and planning. Or is that what you said? I'm struggling. Can everybody hear her properly? Is it just me? Huh? Can you guys hear her properly?
Yes, I heard that properly.
Okay, but I can hear you loud and clear now. I couldn't hear her loud and clear like this. Okay. You said initiation and planning, right? Is that what she said?
Yes, that's what I said.
Okay, all right. Anybody else? Thank you. Well done. Well done. So anybody else, when we talk of discovery, what are we expecting to achieve in discovery phase? Anybody else? Thank you for that.
I believe, Mr. Femi, when we talk about the discovery stage, at this stage, much is to be learned or research about the product or the project where the project scope, the project objective, the goals, why are we doing the project, and what are we targeting to achieve, gathering of requirement as well as constraint that might occur in the project. These are things that actually take place in the discovery stage of a project or a product. That's what I understand.
Yeah, fantastic. Good. So this is why it's important for us to understand this. As an agile project manager or as a delivery manager, you've got to know what are the things that need to be done in the phases. Don't forget, every organization has a different way. They have a framework that they work through, and they need to have a framework. If they don't have a framework, it means perhaps they are not organized. It means they are not organized. So your organization would have a framework. You just need to ask them. You need to know what's the framework, even if they haven't said it to you. And that's what happens because many Scrum Masters would not understand framework of the organization. But as an ADM, it is important for you to understand the framework of your organization. Because if you don't understand the framework of the organization, then you won't know how to be able to manage every phase of that organization effectively. All right. So just as Dell said now, there are a couple of things that you need to consider when we're talking of the phases of projects. And that's why today I want it to be that we go back and work on this, refine whatever it is. I will make suggestions to you, but I want you to feel free to come back to me to say, well, Mr. Femi, based on where we are, based on some of the things that we're doing currently in the organization, these are the phases that we think will be relevant to us. And then you can work this together with someone like Dell and other people that are working with you through this. Okay? You guys can do that for me, right? They're not talking. They're tired of me.
Yes. We have
Okay.
heard you for this.
Even if you're tired of me, it doesn't change anything. I'll still go ahead to do what I need to do. So the best thing is for you to not be tired of me. Okay? So I'm going to share my screen to show you an example of what I'm saying. And perhaps what you guys have done before as well, Dale, you can use that as an example for them. And I want you to be able to rub minds together eventually to be able to come up to say, these are the phases that we think will be relevant to us as an organization. Okay? So projects, especially for a structured environment, you would need to have phases by which you manage projects. And what I've suggested to you tonight is that you should have minimum 3 stages, maximum. How many stages maximum did I suggest you should have?
3 or 4.
Maximum 3. Maximum 4, sorry. So you could have 3 or 4, maximum 4 stages, so that it wouldn't become too much of bureaucracy, too much of legs, and things like that. Okay? I'm going to share my screen just to give you a guide. Okay? Can you see my screen? Can everybody see my screen?
Not yet.
No.
Okay. So it could mean that maybe where you are at the moment, maybe you've even done some of those things unknowingly, and maybe you haven't. You just, let me see. You can, I'm not sure why you can't see my screen that I was sharing. You should be able to see it now. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, Mr. Femi.
Okay, fantastic. So if you look at this, I've just broken this down. You don't need to follow what I've said, all right? How many stages do I have here?
4 stages.
4 stages.
4 stages. Now, you could see that the reason why we do this, I would explain that, is just to guide everyone in the program or within the organization, especially as an ADM or as a project manager or as a scrum master, to know when your team is working on a particular product, what are the check boxes? What are the boxes that needs to be checked for you to know that they've done what they need to do? So if we have the discovery phase, at the discovery phase, there's some things that need to be done. Part of the things that we do at the discovery phase, I will point this out to you. What do you think we do at discovery phase, guys? Based on what you've seen on my screen, we have assembling the team. What does it mean to assemble the team? Why do we need to assemble the team? Isaac, why do we need to assemble the team? And what's the importance of assembling the team? Guys, talk to me. You haven't got forever, please. We've got a limited time. Okay, if Isaac can talk. Loretha, can you talk? Or who? Who is talking?
It's me, but I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Who is talking, please?
Chioma.
Okay, Chioma, yes.
So getting the team together, so all the different people that can work on the project.
So you have faint, or is it just me? Can you please speak closer to your microphone? Chioma, let me hear you now, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Oh, fantastic. Oh, why were you punishing me before then? Let's go on. I'm listening.
Okay, so assembling the team that would build the project from start to finish. So developers, product managers, testers, and everyone is needed to make the team a success. Writing the project charter that determines the outcome of the project and getting documentations together as well. That would be the first step.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Now, because of time, all right, the reason why it's important, you see, all these things are just guide. I'm just putting a guide, and I want you to be able to think out of the box. Okay. Assembling the team is critical. Why is it critical? It's critical because you need to be able to define the people you put together in your team based on the product that you are developing. For example, if your project is data migration, you need to know what tools you are using for your data migration. And you need to get developers that understand and know how to use those tools. Let's say you want to create file watcher, file managers, and you are using Kafka, you are using Storm, you are using Cassandra, you are using MongoDB, you are using ScyllaDB. Those are tools that we use, right? Those are technologies that we use. You cannot go and get developers that do not know how to use those things. That's why you see many times when teams, when they are advertising, they advertise based on all of those tools. As an ADM, you need to have this understanding. Am I speaking in English? Does it make sense to everybody what I'm saying?
Yes, Mr. Femi.
Otherwise, if, for example, if you are using Python or you are using Java, and the person that you've employed does not know how to use Java at all, then there's a problem. They will be learning. It doesn't mean that the knowledge can't easily be adapted, but it will take longer for you. That's why assembling the team is critical. And as an ADM, you need to understand who is who in my team. Data migration is not the same as building an application. They are two different things. It's not the same as building a website or e-commerce website or e-commerce whatever. You need to understand all of this. I know some of you are new to IT, and that's why I'm taking time to explain this. So as an ADM, your team is critical. Who is the solution architect? What knowledge does that person have? Who do you run to? Who are the people that can actually help you? Because don't forget, you don't necessarily have to be technical to be an ADM. No. But you need to know who is who knows what in the product you are working on that can help you to understand some of the terminologies. For example, if somebody says to you, oh, we're using ScyllaDB, we're using MongoDB, you want to ask them, why? Why are we using ScyllaDB? Why are we using MongoDB? A developer might not be able to give you an answer. It might be the solution architect that will be able to break it down to tell you why he has designed it, that you should use MongoDB and ScyllaDB. It could be you that would now question as an ADM that, why can't we use one for the two? This is going to cost me more money. If I'm paying for ScyllaDB and I'm paying for MongoDB, what do you mean? That's a lot of money. But you can only understand this when you've asked questions. Assembling the team is critical in your discovery phase. Another thing that is critical in your discovery phase is what we call, I'm sure you've heard this thing before, right? Have you seen that before?
PID.
UX and UI researchers, yes. UX and UI.
What do you think they do?
User experience research.
What do
That's
they
what
do?
they do.
That's what I'm saying. What do they do? What do they do? What do these people do?
So they can test the product with users at the end of the project's lifecycle.
At the end? No, we don't
During
need them at the end.
they can test, they can
So
research.
even if you don't, let's take the UX out. Let's say the UI or the UX. The reason we do this, who can tell me what's the difference between the UX and the UI? Who can tell me the difference between the two? None of you? Okay, I give it to you as a homework. All right? In this day and age, we don't just develop products anyhow anymore. We want to know what users want to see. We want to know what users will see before we develop it. A prototype is critical. Now, we don't just go into that first. We research, we ask questions. We want to know what users want. That's why we do this research. That's why we have the people that we call UX UI researchers. They go to the field to ask relevant questions based on the product that you want to start creating. It is what they bring back to us that helps us to do some things, which we will get into. Do I make sense? Do I make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys you are keeping quiet on me. You've heard this before, right? I've mentioned this before. You've heard this before? You've heard this before? What's that?
Project charter.
No.
It's the phases of a project.
Phases of project. No, what I wrote now is what I wrote now that I'm asking.
Didn't see it.
Okay,
Persona definition. Okay.
I'm going to put a point on it. Can you see that?
Yeah, persona definition, yes.
What does it mean?
It's just to define the maybe the person per se, like the user.
Okay, well done. Anybody else? What does it mean? When we say persona definition, what does it mean? What does it mean? Persona definition. Guys, talk. Don't keep quiet on me. Am I alone? Is there anybody on the call that can tell me what persona definition is?
Is it like a user, whoever the user is? Is that who are the users of the project or product?
Okay, you try. Who else? I'm seeing some names that I don't know. Who is Reju? Who is for me? What are their role? I don't know. Who is Reju? Who is for me? I know Ken. I know Loritza. I know DJ. Who is Reju, please?
And Reggie's a QA. Reggie's a QA.
This is not a QA training session, right? For me? Is Fumi a QA as well? Or? Olaumi, is Reju supposed to be here? And Fumi, I don't know them.
Don't worry, proceed. They are part of our current interns. I'm sure they are just waiting for the next session that is going to happen shortly. Maybe that's why they just came to recite, see what's going on, but nothing out of the ordinary. They are people we know, so sorry about that. And for Fumi is actually a senior mentor. He's actually a mentor in ADM too. So.
Oh, Okay.
No, this is not even
is,
Fumi. This is the
is this
other
the same
Fumi.
Fumi that I know?
No, no, no. The same Fumi that you know is not this one. Our own always comes with an M. But really, really, don't worry much. They are part of the team. I'm sure they're just waiting for the next class. That's why they're here.
No problem.
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
All right. So what do we mean by persona definition? What's a persona definition? Don't keep quiet on me, guys. Okay. A persona definition is a fictitious character. We paint a fictitious character to represent users of the product that we're creating. It's like a make-believe. For those of you that have watched Bernie before, Bernie is make-believe, a dinosaur talking, teaching people, isn't it? So we have what, let me try to see, I'm sure I've got, no, that's not what I want to show you. That's not what I want to show you. Just give me a minute. Can you see this?
Yes.
All right. When we talk of persona definition, this is what we do in persona definition. We get a fictitious character that helps us to define who our targeted audience is. And there are key points that we want to use to be able to locate them. We look at the digital channel that we're going to use. We look at the motivation. What motivates them? We look at their profile. We start with the profile. Who is this person? Who are these people? The demographics, the profile. What age group are we targeting? Then when we know their profile, then we then go into their pain point. What's their pain point? What is the problem that they are facing? For example, if you want to, let's say you have a wedding business, you are starting up a wedding business, and you want to do persona definition for your wedding business. What's the profile you'll be looking for? Would you be looking for people in their 60s or 50s or 70s? Would you?
No,
What's the profile you'll be targeting?
it's not people in their 20s, 30s getting married.
Exactly. Then you want to know what's their pain points, isn't it? So now, when you look at that, then you also, let's give an example. We have Citadel. We have Blue Sky Citadel. Blue Sky Citadel wants to create a website, and we want to do persona definition. We want to know what's the targeted market. Who are the people? We want to create profile for Blue Sky Citadel. What's the profile we'll be looking at?
We're looking at
Hello?
young people
Are
who
there?
are interested in. We'll be looking at young people that are interested in career development.
Okay. So when we say young people, are you looking at secondary school or people in A levels?
So A levels, university, even as far as graduates. So
Okay. Now for
undergraduates
Blue
and
Sky, you see, this is not a school, it's not a university. This is an institute where you have hands-on experience. Who are the people that you think will patronize Blue Sky Citadel more?
Career changes, people who are changing careers, who are mature students and want a career path in IT.
So which means some of these people must be graduates, right?
Yes,
Some of them might be people perhaps that are in their 20s or in their 30s or even in their 40s, right?
that's right.
So these are some of the things you want to think when you are creating a profile for your persona definition. You create a profile, you want to tell me the age, you want to tell us the demographics, Now you are looking at the pain point. What's their pain point? Why will somebody want to come to Blue Sky Citadel? Why? Tell me, guys. Why would anybody want to come to Blue Sky Citadel?
To get
What
into
are the
IT.
pain points? Why would you want to get into IT? It's another headache. Why would you want to
earn more
come
money.
into it? Huh?
To earn more money. To earn more money.
Why do you want to earn more money? What's the pain point? What pushed you to say you want to earn more money?
Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Fantastic. Perhaps maybe at the moment you are earning 1,500 per month. And by the time you pay your bills, you pay your rent, you don't have anything left. Something will push you to say, you know what? I need a change. Oh my God, I can't go on with this job. This thing is killing me. Or the job you are doing, you don't even have a life. You have to go to work early in the morning. There are people that will leave their house 3 a.m., 4 a.m. because they want to go and resume at work. And they may not come back until late at night. And that person is growing old, and the person is thinking, I can't go on like this. This will kill me. That's a pain point. Or there are people that feel, you know what, all my mates, they are driving nice cars, they are living in lovely houses. I can't buy a house if I continue with this job. Can you see a pain point there?
Yeah.
Are you with me, guys?
We
These
can.
are some of the things that you see. Now, when we look at that, we also look at the motivation. What motivates them? What's the desires that needs to be met for them? Those are some of the things that organizations now catch into before developing a product. And then we look at the digital channels. How can we reach them? What are the channels that, for example, if you want to reach young people, would you reach them via the web or would you reach them via mobile application? Is it iOS that you think will reach them faster? Is it Android? Is it whatever you think? Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
These are some of the things that we put into consideration when we do persona definition. And I'll give you an example. So, for example, let's say I have this, okay? And I have this. Can you see this? Personas are what? Fictional characters that represent different people who might use your product. We call them personas. Carrie, the consumer. Carrie is a consumer, right? How old is Carrie? 36. Location, Reno, Nevada, USA. Do you understand what I'm saying? How long does it like to stay in app? It doesn't like to stay in an application more than 10 minutes. Things like that. These are some of the things we put into. So this convey the problems they are facing in context and key triggers for using the product. It captures the rich, concise information that inspires great product without unnecessary details. Before, we used to do what we call high level, low level. We used to do some things that at the end of the day might not be relevant. Right now, we've taken that into things that we know will strictly be relevant into what the team is developing. And that's why it's important when we're looking at the phases of projects, when we're looking at our framework, it's important we know what needs to be captured and what doesn't need to be captured. That's why this thing is very important. What I'm asking you to do here. Are we clear, guys?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So we want to do this in our first stage, in our discovery phase, before we even say we're doing any. So with that, we can then say, okay, let's create a charter. If you like, you can leave this project charter from here. You can say, I don't want project charter here. I want it maybe in phase 2. That's left to you. But you can't start your project without your project charter or your business case, because your business case is what justifies the reason why you are doing that project. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
There are other things that still need to be created under this discovery if you want. Then another suggestion I have for you is to create PID. You know what PID is, right? Project Initiation Document. I know that Dell, your team produced this, right? You did PID, right? And I
Yes.
explained what I'm expecting in PID. How, as an ADM, do you intend to manage this project? That's what I want to see in your PID. It's a folder where you say, this is my communication plan. These are the people. Don't forget, you remember we've done stakeholder management, right? This is how I'm going to manage risk. This is how I'm going to manage dependencies. Those are the things that I want to see in your PID. There is no need actually putting document there. We just call it PID, which is Project Initiation Document. Does that make sense? Then you can go after you are satisfied that, okay, we've done the prerequisite, then you then want to go into stage 2, where you can say, okay, now let's look at the plan. How much do we have? You've done your plan last week, isn't it? Right? How much do I have? What do I have? Those are things you want to be able to be managing it constantly on a weekly basis to see where you are with the budget and with your timeline. And then you can decide that in this phase 2, I want to make sure that we create product backlog. You have your epic, you have your feature, you have your user stories. And then perhaps for those that will do the testing, you want to make sure that test plan is created. You want to make sure that the base layers are there. All of those things are there in your stage 2. And then the team goes into the planning. Then we start to do our Scrum cycle, where we do plan, do, check, and adjust. That's what we are for the stage 3. Does this make sense? Then on your stage 4, you can close it. Now, for every stage, if you want to create gates, you can create gates to say, when we finish this, we need to show this to Deji. We need to show this to Lady Pat, to let them see this is where we are. We want to be able, that's where what you find in Waterfall. They will not call it like you normally will call it, but they, in Agile, we may make it to be things like, it's just a quarterly review. Oh, it's a review. We don't call it, we wouldn't call, we just call it review meeting. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So would you guys be able to work on this for me? Or am I speaking? Huh?
What are you expecting the team? I didn't get the point to work on it as an assignment.
The assignment is this. Can you see this? Let me just summarize this. Your stage 1, as I said. Can you see the stage 1 that I put here? This is a guide, right? On the stage 1, the purpose of the discovery phase is to ensure that the prerequisite for initiation a project is in place by answering the question, do we have a worthwhile project? So this stage is meant to help us to be able to know that the project we want to do is worth it. And we would be able to make sense out of it before committing a significant spend to it. What I'm expecting you to do is to come up with the stage. Just like I said now, this stage is a guide. What I've given you now, this is a guide. You can choose to say, oh, at Blue Sky Citadel, we would be having 4 stages to manage our project. It means we want to make sure that all our projects, when we are at the discovery phase, the team understands what it means to be at discovery phase. At discovery phase, the right team is assembled. Our UX, UI researcher, they will do the research to understand what people want. This is just a guide, as I said, all right? Then we're going to do our persona definition and make sure that we have project charter created. then some of these things is not for an ADM to be the one that will create the project charter. It's not for an ADM to compulsory be the one that will do personal definition. It could be your business analyst. The UI UX researcher could be part of the business analysis role. But when it comes to assembling the team, it could be you as an ADM that will do that. When it comes to PID documents, it could be you as an ADM and as an agile project manager that will do that. You can see that everybody fits into this, right?
Yeah.
When it gets to the second phase, you need to know you have to work on your plan. You have to work on your risk management. You have to work on, while perhaps the product owner, the business analyst will work on, oh, this is the epic, these are the features, and they are working on the user stories. Does this make sense? And the QA then will work on the test plan, come up with the test approach, letting us know this is how we're going to do the test cases, things that they want to do based on what they understand. So everybody within the team participates in this. And I've just given you an example. And I want it to be done just as I've done this. Is it clear now what I'm asking for?
Yes, please, could you just share that stage one discovery again for me and the bullet points that you had on that?
This is just a guide. This is just a rough guide. Assemble the project team, obtain scope statements, prepare the standard project management, like I said, like risk, quality, communication, and configuration, the governance, which you already have, stakeholder analysis and things like that. And perhaps if there are lessons, there's something we call lessons learned in project management, which is a double-edged sword. It will be an input to your project, and you will leave a lessons learned as an output for another project coming. You don't need to follow all of this. This is just a guide. Okay? Now, on the second stage, as I said, you have a second stage here. I also put a guide. The second stage perhaps is for you to plan, assemble, and control, just as what we do, to assign work to be done, monitor such work, be sure that issues, reports, and all of those things that we spoke about here, that all of them are being followed. You remember we did this. You remember this, guys?
PMO.
Toolkit. You remember that? Talk to me.
Yes.
If it's not clear, don't pretend. And I don't want you to tell me, we've never been taught. That's the reason I'm doing all this. Whatever you feel, bring it. Let's work together on it. I just want you to have an understanding. I want to be sure you really understand what it means to have phases of project management. So when anybody talks about SDLC or whatever it is that they talk about, it wouldn't be strange to you. What I've created here is a agile approach, where you have combination of waterfall and agile. Are we clear?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is quiet on me. I don't need you to be quiet. I need you to give me answers. Ken, you're on the call. Ken,
Yes,
you know
I
what
am.
I'm asking for, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think I've got a question as well to ask, which is kind of to do with the stages. And I think you did mention earlier on that the stages does change depending on the project you're working on. Because like in my project, the stage one, which is the assembling of the team and the research on creating the definition and what's the scope of the work that we're going to be working and creating a project charter, right? Part of that PID documentation was for us to create a plan on the page to be able
Good.
to scope what the whole work would look like. And,
Good.
then we had to map out like a timeline to say, right, so we're going to be taking maybe a year, 2 years to do this work. And we
Mhm.
need to be able to plan into the future and scope
Mhm.
that. But which kind of should have been on the stage plan too, but
Mhm.
it can't happen in stage one. So I was just wondering, is that a normal flow for work when you come to planning stages, you know, like when you come to the discovery stage, or is that something that is just unique to the place of work that I'm working in?
Okay. Every organization, well done, good question. Every organization has its own ways of designing things. And the reason you are going through this is so that you can have better knowledge than because some organizations have people that have designed wrong things for them, to be honest. Because those people, they just come, it's just based on contract. And sometimes I've gone to organizations that I see that what they've designed for them is absolute rubbish and needs to be done. That's why you see some organization will sack some people once they realize that they've wasted millions. Now, it depends on the organization. Sometimes some organization will want the plan from the beginning because they want to know how much they are spending. They are very conscious about money, not the product.
That's correct.
But, yes, but some organizations are particular about the product, and then they would work in an agile way to say, let's only do what our money can take. So for those ones, they might push their planning to say, it could start in phase 1, it could start in phase 2. They don't care. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
But it varies from organization to organization. What I have given you, like I said, is a guide. But I want you guys to be able to think out of the box. I want you to show me that everybody is wearing the, and this is why this is a challenge for everybody. So I need everybody to get their hands dirty in it and come back to me on Thursday to say, wow, this is what we've come up with as an organization. Every organization must have something like this. Otherwise, they'll just be working half-assedly. Did I answer your question, Ken?
Yes, you did. That makes
Okay.
a lot of sense. Because
All right.
initially, I think I struggle a lot with it, because
Okay.
because we do mostly we do the Agile format. So
Yeah.
there's a project management team that actually
Yeah.
manages the Agile team. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good. It's good you've asked the question. So I'm happy you asked because it helps everybody as well to know what is going on out there in the world, in the real world. Okay.
Yeah.
So guys, let's call it an evening. I was told that I should finish this before 9. So sorry, guys. I've gone beyond again. I just thought it would be good for you to get a grasp of it before I leave. So you wouldn't come back to say, we didn't understand what you were saying, Mr. Femi. Now everybody understands what I'm saying. Oh,
Yes, yes.
Mr. When is this assignment supposed to be
on
presented?
Thursday. I want it on Thursday. Don't come back to me with stories, oh, guys. Good night, everybody.
They will not. Good
Bye-bye.
night, Mr. Femi. Bye-bye.